All right. So Tyson, I just want to thank you for doing this. Um, a lot of people keep their health a secret, and you've kind of volunteered to open up with your story and just some of the details of that story with us today. And I really want to thank you as your friend, but also from the African American Community Partnership Group. Um, the African American Community Partnership Group, the AACPG, is a community needs driven effort. We help the African American community work through and overcome disparities in our communities, giving them the tools for education and self care. This specific video is in a series that we're doing, and that's the AACPG's Cancer Awareness Initiative. Provide a source of hope for those going or that have gone through something like this, and a sense of understanding for those who have family going through this and they don't know what to say or how to necessarily support them. So I'll introduce Naketa Fidel Andrews, what we call Tyson. And I know Tyson from Louisiana Tech University. He was my line brother for Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. We've known each other a long time, and he graduated from LSU, loves sports. The first brother I ever met that played tennis.
Back and
So
roll.
he played basketball too, but he just threw that tennis in there and kind of threw us for a loop. So,
Yeah.
but really cool guy. And Tyson, is there anything else you want to add that everybody can kind of know about you?
Yeah, I'm just a regular guy. Like, the most joy I get out of the day is talking to my family and my friends. When I reconnect with my like DJ, when I reconnect with him, it gives me so much joy. And just watching sports on TV and just trying to recuperate, from having cancer. Around Thanksgiving of 2018, it was Thanksgiving week. Uh, and I left on Wednesday because I was coming down to having Thanksgiving with my friend Chris in Palm Springs, Chris and other friends of ours. And so I get to Palm Springs and get to do the dinner and everything. My Cowboys are playing. They lost. They were playing, and I just didn't have any energy. And everyone noticed it. I had no energy. I was just like out of it. So I didn't think anything of it, really. I thought maybe I was just, overworked and just tired, And so when I got back to LA, I played tennis. I got back on a Sunday. I played tennis on a Monday, and I noticed, and other people were noticing that I was playing against it. I fell down twice on the court. I just got tripped over my own feet, and it just continued to happen. And I felt like I got a sinus infection during that same time. And so from that day, for the Monday after Thanksgiving through Christmas, I drove home for Christmas. So when I was on the road,
Mm-hmm.
I stopped at a rest area at like 1 in the afternoon. I think I had just passed Tucson, Arizona, and I was intending to just sit there for 15 minutes. It was like one. It was like 1 o'clock, and all of a sudden, I hear a park ranger knocking at the window, and I look up. It's like 9:30 p.m. at this point. I was asleep for 8 hours and didn't even know it. I was just out of it, just sick. I mean, at this point, I wasn't really sick. I was just exhibiting strange phenomena like that, just like sleeping and
But you were
so
fatigued all the
yeah,
time. Then you were saying,
so fatigued. I was so fatigued, and I get home to visit with my family. And the day after Christmas, we were supposed to do after Christmas shopping with my mom, and I just told her I just can't. I just don't feel good. I have a sinus infection, and so the whole time I was there, I didn't see anyone. And I came back home. I was supposed to be there until January 5th, And I decided to come back before New Year's. I left on the 29th, I think, to come back because I I wasn't feeling it.
Mm-hmm.
I get back and I go to urgent care on, I think, I think I went to urgent care January 2nd. Okay. I got antibiotics that trip. Okay. Fast forward 4 weeks later, I go back to urgent care. They give me more antibiotics and tell me I need to go see a specialist. I went to the urgent care 7 times, and 5 of those 7 times, the doctor gave me antibiotics, and the antibiotics were making me more sick. The antibiotics made me so sick that I swore I would never take one again in my life, because this was the 5th dose of antibiotics in 5 months, and they were clearly not working. So I decided that I was dying. I pretty much told myself I was dying. I said, okay, I better prepare my family for this and my friends. So I better, make some calls. At this point, I was, I prepared myself for what was going to happen. So I called my cousin Nalinia, and she's a lawyer. She works for, Universal in Los Angeles. And I said, me and Chanel, we and my friend Chris didn't know this, but he was paying for a plane ticket for me to go home to back to home to Louisiana. And so when I got into the car with my cousin Nalinia, and we were right by Cedar Sinai, she said, "You're not well. Your color's off. You speaking. You talking. Just saying crazy stuff." And
Yeah, the death. You keep talking about death.
Yeah, I was talking about death, and she said, "You got that crazy look in your." She said, "You got that crazy look in your eye," and I know what crazy looks like. Trust me.
Yeah.
And she said, "Your color looks really funny," and she says, "Looks like you might have meningitis." And I'm like, "Oh, maybe that's it. I didn't get that on WebMD." And she said, "You been on WebMD?" I said, "Yeah, I've been on WebMD." And and my cousin takes me to Cedars. She says, I told her, I said, "I've been to urgent care 7 times." She said, "Well, let's go to the emergency room." And so we get there. The nurse came and took my temperature and everything, and it was like 102. And I just remember her saying, "We gonna put in the bed right away. Is something's, we think he might have meningitis or something." They were thinking the same thing. Get checked out in the ER, and they put me to bed, and I was in the hospital for a whole month from that day.
So this is quite the journey so far. You mentioned that you had a swollen testicle, right? That would strike some people, and then you had like extreme fatigue. You were passing out. Your vision was kind of off.
Yeah, my legs
right?
were a little warm. I didn't have any
Yeah.
strength in my legs.
So your
My balance
coordination
was
as
off.
well. Yeah,
Yeah.
and balance was off. So you went to the hospital finally. You were there a month. At what point did they come in and say, "Okay, this is what you have"?
Okay, so on Friday, after they put me to bed, and I thought I was just there just to see if I didn't rule out meningitis and to check on my vision issues. Okay, so I told the nurse all the things about, me falling and bumping my head and, all this stuff. And she informs me that they did a little brain scan or whatever. And she said that at some point in time recently, you had a stroke. And I was like, "What? A stroke?" She said, she said, "When you passed out that day," she said, "You had a stroke. That was a stroke." And it freaked me out.
Wow.
And that Sunday, that Saturday, they ran every test known to man on me. And then nothing was panning out. And so on that Sunday, they said, "We're going to do a lumbar puncture." And I said, "Well, okay, do the lumbar puncture." But the operative word puncture didn't cross my mind until I saw them bringing out needles. I'm like, oh, what? And
Yeah.
so they said, okay, Mr. Andrews, you're gonna lay on your stomach, and we're going to stick this needle, this 8-inch needle, into your spine and draw some spinal fluid. And I was like, oh hell no, I don't know if I can do that. Is there any other way? Can you take fluid from anywhere else? And they was like, no, they said this has to happen. Okay, so I'm thinking, so 7 doctors came into the room, and
Yeah.
they all cleared out. They said that all this, they couldn't find anything wrong in the tests, and like we don't know what's wrong. And but the internal medicine doctor stayed, and I'm thinking, there's a reason he's staying in this room. There's a reason he's staying.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, Mr. Andrews, I want to tell you something. Do you want to call somebody, call a relative and have him be here when I'm thinking that he's about to tell me I got like a week to live. So he tells me that we found cancer in your spinal column, and it's invaded your brain, and your brain is swollen as a result. And you've had a stroke already, and that's what caused your optic nerve damage as as a result of all this happening. And you have acute lymphoblastic leukemia. And they said, well, I said, what? Because there's not really a big history of cancer on either side of my family, so that was quite a surprise. But they say sometimes environmental factors can lead to these kind of cancers. But
Yeah.
basically acute lymphoblastic leukemia is normally a cancer that you would find in a white child who's younger than 5 years old. So I gave them my family history, in Louisiana, you know how they do it. Master was in all the quarters. And so I have, obviously, Anglo roots or whatever. And it said that instead of leaving me money, they left me cancer in my in my DNA. So that's
Yeah.
likely what was the culprit. And I was told immediately that because of certain factors in your blood, we don't normally we can treat this cancer fairly easily, but because you have a marker in your cancer, I mean, we're gonna have to test it further so we can give you some options as to how we're going to treat it or not be able to treat it. So at this point, I'm thinking I'm dying. I just break down and cry, and I call my Aunt Blanche,
Yeah.
because in my family, she's the most rational person. And she spoke to the doctor, and we came up with a plan.
Mm-hmm.
And so they had to do more blood work, and I had to send it all the way to DC to get tested to make sure to rule out certain factors in my blood,
Yeah.
in my what kind of cancer I had. So I got a doctor, Dr. Noah Marin, and he is awesome. He told me that I would have to get a bone marrow transplant at some point. And he also told me as to why my testicle was swollen. He said because the cancer that I had, the bone, my the the lymphocytes in my blood were hiding in my testicle and hiding in my brain. So not only was I going to have to do chemotherapy, I was going to have to do radiation. And
Wow.
so I was apoplectic. I was mad at people, and I didn't even know why I was mad at. I was just angry.
Yeah.
But there's nothing. There was nothing that I could do but just.
Can I ask about the feelings? Like you mentioned the feelings of anger, and it kind of sounded like maybe some sadness too earlier in the story. Um, are those feelings like when you look at the process up to that point?
Well,
Was
my
there any
thought was,
relief?
it was relief in knowing that I had a diagnosis and they knew what was wrong with me. I had
Yeah.
diagnosed myself with my latest diagnosis to myself the Friday before I went to the hospital was I gave myself Meniere's disease. I said I got Meniere's disease. I was angry because I had wasted so much time. I'm like in my life. I said I should have went to law school when I was 24 instead of in my 30s. I should have done this. I should have had a kid in my 20s. I should have did this. I should have, made more money in my 20s. I should have been more responsible with this. I should have been more responsible with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just, like I said, I was apoplectic. And in my apoplexity, I didn't realize that I wasn't thinking rationally. There's
Yeah.
no way that I could have foreseen any of this coming. And there's no way anyone could have foreseen anything like that coming to themselves and,
Right.
in a situation like that. And I was devastated. I was depressed and all that stuff. And it was it was it was a hard time. I
Yeah.
mean, um, I'm gonna go on and say this. Me and my mom were not the closest prior to me having cancer. Now my mom loves all three of her children, but I just always felt like she loved the other two more than she loved me
Yeah.
on some level. But when I got cancer, we became very, very close. And
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the bright spots in this, if there can be a bright spot in cancer, that was the bright spot. And of course, me getting better was awesome. But me getting closer with my mom is also been one of the shining new things in my life.
Yeah.
And getting closer with my friends, my friend Hector, Manuel, Guy, and Mike, and Chris, and just so many people. My tennis community they really came through for a brother. I swear they did. I mean,
Yeah.
because besides my cousin Nelinia, and I have a couple of family members in California that I don't know very well. The only person I know really well is my first cousin Nelinia, my mom's older sister's daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And um, I was everybody extended themselves to me, and I made that my support system. Everybody pitched in with everything.
Yeah.
From taking me to my appointments. You know, um, every I had to go to the psychiatrist because I guess it's a new thing. I don't know if it's a new thing, but people who have cancer go to see shrinks now, to help deal with you know, I guess
Those
the
feelings that
mental,
we talked about.
yeah,
Yeah.
the mental, side of it. And
Yeah.
she said, whenever you feel like you going into a dark place, um, you need to call one of your friends. And and they were all great. It's it's been a roller coaster ride, but I think I'm a better person because I experienced these things, and I don't know if divine intervention. I'm pretty sure divine intervention played a major role,
Mhm.
and I'm glad I came out on this side.
Can I ask you about those moments when you felt encouraged? Because you were seeing somebody to talk about your feelings. You had family members that you were talking about with your feelings. Um, was there anything else that brought you encouragement to get to the where you are now? Because you've been through the treatments. Would you say
Yeah,
you're still in it?
yeah, I'm still in the treatments. Yeah, I'm still taking medication. I still have to have a bone marrow biopsy in December, to rule out, you know, yes, the 1 year bone marrow, 1 year bone marrow biopsy in December is going to be indicate where if I'm clinically cured of the cancer.
Yeah.
So I got the bone marrow transplant on December 6th, and they do a 1 year screening after that, and a couple in between to make sure that none of those lymphocytes were growing back. So I guess people reminded me of who I used to be
Hmm.
and what I can do. Even though my vision was a little crazy right now, and I hope to be able to get some help with that at some point. but of course I can't because I'm under the care of a cancer doctor. So I can't really get therapy until I'm clinically healed from that issue,
Yeah.
because situation one contributed to situation two. So I can't heal or cure situation two until situation one has been cured.
Right.
So it's been quite a journey. Yeah, like I said, it was just friends reminded me of who I am and what I can do and how I used to be, how I used to encourage them. And they turned it around on me and say, this is what you used to do. This is your strength. And, and
Yeah.
I responded to that very, very, I responded to it in a major way. Plus, at the time that I got sick, I recall I was a big boy. I was up to 234 pounds, I think.
You was a big boy.
I was a big boy. I was eating everything and anything. I eat 2 racks of ribs, not just one, but 2. Um, I, I'm now 156.5 pounds.
Yeah.
So I lost almost 100 pounds, man. So it just, and my whole structure of my look is different. I feel healthier now because I'm eating a little bit better, not a whole lot better, but I'm eating a little bit better.
Yeah.
But I can't gain any weight, um, probably because of the medication that I'm taking. Yeah, it doesn't allow it. Food just burns through my body. I can eat any and everything. I tried it. I tried eating everything in the kitchen for a whole week, 2 weeks, no result. Then gain a pound and actually end up losing weight instead of gaining weight. So it's been quite a challenge.
Yeah, it's been quite the journey for you, and it's very interesting that the journey's not done yet. You're still hoping for some good news in December. I know one of the challenges you spoke of was the financial part and how Obamacare kind of helped you financially, not for everything, of course.
So
And then with the vision that you have now, your hopes to being able to get that corrected as well.
So yeah, let me give you a little more information. So when I went to that ENT to pay that $1,000 back in March, just to see the ENT, I had to pay out of pocket.
Yeah.
So they sent me a bill uh, for all the lab. They didn't initially had to pay $1,000 just to see the doctor, and then they sent me a bill $1,500 more just for the lab things they had to do. So I saw the man for, first of all, he was late an hour, and I was in his office for 30 minutes. He did the 15 minutes do the test, 15-minute consultation, $2,500 just for basically 30 minutes of this man's time. And he was late to see me. So that really made me mad because I had to pay cash. And so basically, I'm putting money into this man, I'm just paying all this money, and I was like a number to him. I didn't feel like he was taking it seriously. He's like, oh, it's not the way, I might be wrong. He may be taking it totally seriously, but the feeling I got from him when I was being examined was
Mhm.
like he wasn't taking it very seriously. It was like, oh, just another person coming in to, get a checkup, and
Yeah.
and I wanted some answers. I didn't want my doctor to treat me that way, and I felt that's the way I was treated. And several of the doctors that I saw over that time period that I had to pay cash to, I felt as though they didn't take my case very seriously. I was just a number to them.
Yeah.
Even when I had the insurance, I was just a number to them because I had an HMO, I didn't have a PPO. And I think some doctors look at that and say, oh, well, I'm only going to get so much out of this. And so I'm just going to give him this amount of care.
Yeah.
And that's how I felt. So make a long story short, in totality, my hospital bills were $2.4 million. So in California, we have something called Medi-Cal. and
Yeah.
it's connected to Obamacare. So when you top out of your Obamacare, when you reach the maximum amount of money they can spend on you for Obamacare, your deductible, my deductible is $7,000, which I have to pay that as well. When you top out of that, it moves over into Obamacare, and so Obamacare translates to it goes over to Medi-Cal, and Medi-Cal picks up the rest. So Medi-Cal paid $2.4 million for my 74 days in the hospital in 2019.
Yeah. Yeah. So normally I would ask what advice you would give to somebody who's going through what you're going through. But I wanted to switch it up, and I would ask you, what advice, because you saw so many doctors, what advice would you have for doctors? Like when they're dealing with a patient who is going through something like this, what advice would you have for those kind of physicians?
Well, I have to reveal this as well. So when they did the surgery on my testicle to get the cancer out of there, I told the doctor, uh, look, do you have any sons? And he's like, yeah, I have 3. He said, oh, good. I said, my mom has 3 sons. I'm the oldest. I said, treat me like you would treat your son on this operating table, because I had never had a surgery before, because I had never been sick before. I had never had any issues before health wise. And this man took me by the hand. He took my hand and he prayed over me and did my surgery. And that's not something you would normally see in a hospital. And I really like that doctor, even though he only did the surgery, but I just had a connection with him, and I really have a connection with Dr. Marin, because my cancer doctor, because he was hard on me. I was complaining a lot, about my sickness and this, that, and the third, and he's like, you have the cancer, you have to deal with it. It's not going away without treatment. It's not something that's going to magically go away. I can't give you pills for it. It has to be treated aggressively, because this is an aggressive form of leukemia. If you don't treat it, you're going to be having more systemic, I think they call it systemic strokes. And your brain is slowly going to die, and you with it. And at that point, I knew I had to get on board. Otherwise, I was going to be dead anyway, because I was already dying. So they started giving me the treatments and everything.
Mm-hmm.
They found out that they could treat it with the bone marrow transplant. And so we were having a hard time finding a match in the national database, because it's hard to match me with their different based on what they have in the database.
Yeah.
So I told my doctor, I was like, well, I have 2 brothers. He said, well, why didn't you tell me that before? I said, well, he's like, I thought I told the nurse the history, and he said, oh, okay, so get your brothers tested. And I have, in my family, my mom has 6 sisters and 5 brothers. So I have, I think, 41 first cousin. And the doctor wanted a male donor. And so I think I had 12 first cousins who were under 35 send in the samples, and my brothers. And so on October 3rd, which is today, my brother, October 3rd, 2019, my brother, I got a call from the nurse saying, your baby brother is a match for your bone marrow.
Wow.
Yeah. 1 year today. And my doctor called. He was very excited. He was so excited. He called my brother, he didn't even know, and say, I saw you on Facebook, and you just, happy to, just met him, just to, start some little camaraderie and whatever.
Yeah.
And it was everything was lightning quick after that. the transplant was set, that we had to go through my insurance to make sure that they would do the transplant, and it was approved. And that happened on December 6th.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom, who had never been on a plane before, and my aunt Brenda and my cousin Chanel, they were there. I didn't think they were coming. I mean, they said they were coming, but I had so much radiation and chemotherapy. They gave me, prior to having a bone marrow transplant,
Yeah.
you have to go through 8 straight days of 2 days, two times a day I had to get radiation. 2 times a day I had to get chemotherapy. So 16 rounds of radiation and chemotherapy in 8 days. So I was wiped.
Yeah.
So on December 6th, when they were giving me the bone marrow transplant,
Mm-hmm.
I think it was around 10:30 in the morning. I was about to get the transplant, and my mom walked in around 9:30, and my aunt and my cousin,
Yeah.
and I think I might say that might be the happiest moment of my life. That
Wow.
was the
Family
happiest
was
moment
there.
of my life, because I thought, yeah, because the doctor had already told my mom that there's a 20% chance he might die with this procedure, during, after having this procedure. And my mom, and this was a Thursday the week before,
Mm-hmm.
and my mom was like, "Oh no, if he's gonna die, And then when she got there, they made her sign all these papers, these you know do not DNRs,
Yeah.
and she had to sign it, and she didn't feel comfortable doing it. And I told her, you got to do it. That's, if I die, you got to, you have to sign the papers. I mean, it's just, I mean, I know you don't like talking about death, but this could happen. It's a real possibility, and you got to be prepared. It is, and if I die, you need to sign this paper. And we got all that out the way, and we did the transplant, and it was successful.
It's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Tyson, with all that being said, where you are now, is there anything that you're looking forward to?
Well, I want to give it, first of all, give a shout out to my cousin Chanel Hill, who set up a GoFundMe for me, because it looks like I'm gonna have to have some treatments, whether it be surgeries or other, to work on my eyes at some point. GoFundMe, Naketa Andrews. I'm looking forward to just being normal again. I mean, I know it sounds a little stupid, but some things you take for granted when you can't do anymore. Right now, I can't drive, and I have a hard time seeing small print. So I'm looking forward to driving again, really, and it just being normal, and things that become second nature to me. Like, God, I used to get out of my car. And say, God, I hope I have to get in this car again and drive. You know, and then now, like, oh God, I wish I can get in that car and drive.
Yeah.
Things like that you miss, because you have to ask people to do things for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a person who gets up and just does it. Does what he wants to do, and when he wants to do it. And right now I can't do that, so I'm looking forward to being able to do that again. And there's no doubt in my mind I'm going to get back to that point. Maybe not 100% my vision 100% correct, but if you can get me 20-30% better, I would be able to drive and resume normal things in life,
Yeah.
go back to work. And that's what I'm looking forward to mostly. Just normal things, driving and seeing the TV across the room again, because to be honest, my vision had started getting better prior to my bone marrow transplant. It's
Uh-huh.
just that when I had the treatments, the 16 treatments of radiation and chemotherapy,
Yes.
my the radiation hit my optic nerve during sessions, and made my vision worse. So now I used to be able to see from across the room at the TV. Now I have to get right in front of the TV just to see what's going on. And that's my head is already big, and people keep saying your head is so big I can't see the screen. So they said, move your big head. I'm like, okay, I'm trying. So, life is full of ups and downs
Yeah.
and curves. I've hit my curve and I'm back on the upslope. I hit my down. Now I think I'm going up again. So I'm excited about what the future holds, and I'm excited about, just getting through it. I mean, I had a situation just today where I had a friend of mine calling, talking about politics, and he's a Republican, and he was talking about politics, and we had a little bit of falling out, and he says he left me a text saying he never want to talk to me again, and I said, um, thank you, and have a great day, and we moving forward, and
Yeah.
that was the end of it. I said, have a great day, sir. You have a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I almost died. So you think I guess he thought what he said was more important than anything that I've gone through. I'm like, you know what? You can excuse yourself,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I tell you, you didn't even have to leave the text. You could have just disappeared, and I would have been fine with that.
Well,
So
you're, it's just a great testimony of really, you did some initiative, you looked up some things on your own to try to figure out what was going on. You went to the doctor to try to get the help, and the help just wasn't there in the way that it should have been. But you made yourself through, and these pitfalls of anger and the feelings of depression and all those things, you made it through all of those things. And it's just a reminder for me as a friend that it's so important to try not to lose touch with your friends, even if you're talking with them every 3 months. If you talk to your friends quarterly, you're still going to be able to keep in the loop of what's going on with them. So, it's just really that important that we reach out to people, that we understand their story. And just the idea that you shared your story with us today, I'm hoping that that helped people who have been through this. And they're like, wow, like this guy been through way more than I've been through. And he's still able to smile and crack a joke or two here and there. I know I can make it.
well, one thing you have to keep in mind is that you have to advocate for yourself when you're in a medical situation, because otherwise you will die. Because a lot of times I got lucky and got Dr. Marin and Dr. Paquette and Dr. Vesio. I mean, three great doctors. They're at the top of their fields, and they make a ton of money, and they take the top insurance. But they got my case, and it was an interesting case for them, because I told you I had that little factor in my blood that made my leukemia unique. It
Mm-hmm.
was very interesting to them, and they were like, "Ooh, this is they like special cases," and they jumped on my case, and so I was lucky to have to be weird, for a change. Normally my weirdness gets me nowhere, but at that
Uh-huh.
time it got me somewhere. so so you have to advocate for yourself, because if you don't advocate for yourself, or have somebody, if you have like somebody in your family member or friend advocating for you, like my friend Guy in Los Angeles was
Yeah.
asking, telling me what questions to ask and helping me do research. If you don't advocate for yourself, you're gonna get in trouble. You need to have somebody who's going to be there helping you to navigate through these muddy waters. Otherwise, it's going to be overwhelming.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. You got to vouch for yourself. You got to speak up for yourself. Um, well, Tyson, thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for just your openness and your frankness, and the courage and the bravery it takes to really put yourself out there. So thank you for that.
No problem. If I can do anything to help another person, to help them get into a better situation, I'm all for that. And I'll do it again. If you need me for anything else, I'm here.
Yeah, sure thing. Well, thank you. We're going to sign off. The double ACPG thanks you, and I definitely thank you.
Thank you,
And I look
brother.
forward to talking to you soon.
All right, 1906.
Yes, sir. I love you, man. You take care.
I love you too, brother. Take care.
Bye-bye.